Bismillah Rahman Rahim. We start the 5090 O-Level Biology MCQ. This is the June 2020 paper 1-1 and we're going to discuss this. As you know, the time is 1 hour and you have only about a minute for each question because you need to again recheck your answers, and please do not do the questions which you are not sure of and come back to them later on, so that you do the ones that you definitely know, so that you get your the questions that you know well, you do them first and then you come back to the ones in which you are a little confused or maybe you're not a little clear on that. As we look at question number 1, which structure is present in a liver cell and in a leaf cell? Now you know leaf, this is now the first chapter. So liver cell is an animal cell and plant cell is a plant cell, leaf cell is a plant cell. So you know cell wall is only present in plants, cellulose cell wall, chloroplasts are only present in some plant cells. Please do not say all plant cells because roots do not have any chloroplasts. And then the sap vacuole is in plant cells. So the only answer to this was cytoplasm. Then coming to question number 2, by which process does water vapor pass out of a leaf? Now this is a leaf and you have the epidermis and you have the cuticle on top, and then you have the palisade mesophyll, and then you have the spongy mesophyll, and you know water evaporates and finally forms these water vapors. But then, as you can remember, that there are the guard cells, and the guard cells are the ones which guard the opening of the stoma, and all of this is called the stomata. So why would the water vapors pass out of a leaf? I said water vapor, I didn't say water, I said water vapor. So it has to be diffusion, can't be osmosis. Why? Because there's no partially permeable membrane that it is crossing. So the water vapor is in the air spaces. So first of all, the water was in the form of liquid water on the surface of the spongy mesophyll cells. Now it is in the form of a vapor, and the vapor is going to diffuse out. Students would be confused because when it said water, you would think of osmosis, and a large number of students would probably think it's osmosis, but it's not osmosis. Why? Because osmosis is the movement of water. Vapor is a gas. Water vapor is a gas, it's not a liquid. Liquid is movement of liquid water is osmosis. So please get this correct and be very clear about it, what I mean by this. Question 3, a student takes a potato and cuts 3 pieces from it. Right? Each piece is 5 centimeter into 0.5 into 0.5. So 5 into 0.5 length, breadth, width. He places the 3 potato pieces into 3 different concentrations of sugar. So we place them in 3 different concentrations of sugar. This one in a separate one, this one in a separate one, and this in a separate one. So 3 pieces of potato in 3 different concentrations of sugar solution. After 2 hours, he removes the potato pieces. So then we remove the potato pieces and from the sugar solutions and measure their lengths. The results are shown in the table. Now let's understand each one. Now for instance, if I say let's look at solution X. Now this is solution X, right? This is solution X. Now in solution X, it increased in length to 5.2. So that means that water must have moved into the potato and the potato length has increased. So that means that X had a higher water potential. X had a higher water potential, so water moved into the potato. X is the solution outside, it is the liquid outside it. So X has a higher water potential. Now, here this one is wrong. The potato piece in solution X increases in length because it takes up sugar. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't take up sugar, it takes up water. So this was wrong. Then let's look at the next one. Now, if you look at solution Y, now in solution Y, what has happened is that it has become from 5 centimeter here, it has become 4.7. So that means what has happened, water has moved out of the potato into the solution Y. So it has become shorter now. This is what you have to understand, that now it has become shorter and 4.7. So that means Y inside the potato had a higher water potential. So solution Y has a lower water potential than the potato cells. That is why what has happened. Solution Y has a lower water potential, so that means water has moved out of the potato into the solution Y. So solution Y has a lower water potential than the potato cells, and that is why the answer is A, because in solution Y it has decreased in length. So that means water from the potato has moved out. So water from the potato has moved out, so it has to be a higher, this has to be a higher water potential. Or you could say solution Y has a lower water potential. So please understand why are we saying that A is correct. If you look at D, D is wrong as well, because again it loses sugar. Take up of sugar or loss of sugar is not the story. The story is about the movement of water into or out of the potato. So this was wrong because the sugar thing is wrong. So both these were wrong because the sugar is being mentioned here. Now the only question we had to figure out was this solution Z has the lowest water potential. Why are we saying so solution Z has the lowest water potential? In fact, it has a higher water potential because in Z what has happened, this is Z. In Z what has happened is that the potato has grown in length. So what has happened, Z will have a higher water potential, so water will move into the potato cell. So solution Z has a higher water potential. So that is why it has in fact increased more in length than 5.2 than the X part. So that is why B is wrong, in which we say this is wrong. So all these three are wrong and only A is correct. Question number 4. Which property of enzymes is explained by the lock and key hypothesis? All enzymes are protein, nothing to do with the lock and key hypothesis. Yes, you can say if the question was which biological molecule are all proteins, then you could have said A was correct. Enzymes are inactive at very low temperatures. Now that doesn't explain the lock and key hypothesis. Yes, it's correct. Enzymes are inactive at very low temperatures. In fact, they vary. The optimum temperature varies from enzyme to enzyme. Human enzymes are most active below 40, but that is not the lock and key story. So the lock and key is most enzymes can catalyze only one reaction. We say this is the enzyme and we say this is the active site. And then we say something fits into the active site and that something is the substrate. And this we say is the lock and key mechanism and the lock and key hypothesis, that the active site has a depression, just like a lock has a depression where the key fits. So most enzymes can catalyze only one reaction. The reason is because this depression, or as I say in Urdu, is this khadde. Now this khadda is very typical depression or a cleft, and what can fit into it is only a certain shape which is complementary. So this substrate is complementary, it's not the same shape. So the shape of the substrate is complementary to the active site. So please understand this. To question number 5, the diagram shows a transverse section through the leaf. This is the cuticle, this is the upper epidermis, this is the palisade mesophyll, spongy mesophyll, lower epidermis, and the cuticle here again, then the stomata. Now let's look at what is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1 you can say they're pointing inwards, 2 is, what could that be? So we have to understand is they are asking 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 is the airspace. Now it says with what are the functions of the parts labeled 1, 2. So it's not asking the labels, it's asking the functions. So if you look at the functions, now the functions of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I would have just looked at 4 and I would have said, okay, 4 is an airspace, so it has to be gaseous exchange. So I would have narrowed down here to these two, because I would have said, okay, 4 is only an airspace, so it has to be gas exchange. So it could be either C or D. So A and D are wrong. So this is the first thing which you do is when you're stuck with some sort of, you can just uh, cancel out, and you say, oh well, A and B is total rubbish. And then of course you say, okay, now which can it be? Can it be C or can it be D? And then of course you have to figure it out. One was chloroplast. You can see it is pointing inside to the chloroplast, so it had to be photosynthesis. But then again, both of them are photosynthesis. Then 2 is what? 2 could be, you remember leaf upper xylem. So this upper part, this is the xylem. and you've got these very, dark sort of these things. I always say xylem has these typical hexagon shapes which you can see. So 2 had to be xylem. So if 2 was xylem, then it's transporting water. And then 3 was the phloem. So phloem was transporting sucrose and amino acids in solution. So that is why the answer was D. And you have to really know this. It's very important that you understand that we are looking at this, we are looking at a vascular bundle here. And the upper part, this is the very typical look which gives you is the xylem. So please, so just look at photo micrographs or look at microscope slides of xylem and phloem, and I'm sure if you see a couple of about 10, 20, you will be able to figure out which ones are the xylem. Xylem has these very strong, this which you see here. This is a typical xylem. So please understand that. So this question has to be understood, otherwise you can't do this question. Question 6. The diagram shows a green plant photosynthesizing under a glass jar. So this is what you can see. It's a green plant. So if you look at it, and if I just shade this green, so it is a green plant. And what are we studying? We are studying photosynthesis, right? And this was used as a control experiment in a laboratory investigation. So this was the control experiment. And in the control experiment, what we have? The plant, we have a airtight bung, we have light, and we have a glass jar, and we have water, and we have water here, and we have filter paper, and we have a green plant. Now look at it very carefully, and then it says which diagram shows the experiment carried out to investigate the need for carbon dioxide. Basically what they want to understand is whether you've understood control. And control, I always say, is for C for comparison. Like I could say, person X is making all the noise in the class. So a class with person X and a class without person X. So what we have to do in this place, of course, we are having a normal thing. We are saying everything is normal, but we are experimenting that this was used as a control experiment. Which diagram shows the experiment to investigate the need for carbon dioxide? So in this, carbon dioxide is being provided. Now, in which experiment, A, B, C, or D, there is no carbon dioxide? You see, as I said, person X in the class without person X in the class. If I say, oh, person X is making all the noise in the class, so let's have a class with him and let's have a class without him and see if the noise is still there, it's not person X. So which diagram shows the experiment? Now, this is in the dark, so this is wrong because that was in the light. Now we're left with A, C, and D. Now, all three are in light. But then what do we have here? Here we have something which is going to absorb the carbon dioxide. That is why the answer was A. That is why the answer was A. But then why is C wrong? I want you to know that. Why is C wrong? Because here you had an indicator to detect carbon dioxide. Now that is not present. That means carbon dioxide is present here. Well, that was present in the initial diagram as well. So this was wrong. This was to detect carbon dioxide. That's why this was wrong. Why is this wrong? It's an oil layer. A control experiment is an exact replica. Why have we put an oil layer? And why is there water evaporation? So when we do a control experiment, it has to be the same as this initial experiment. The apparatus has to be the same. Everything must be the same. The size of the beaker must be the same. This beaker must be the same. This filter paper must be the same. So that is why D was wrong. So please understand that is when we do a control, why do we do a control? We do a control for comparison. Now coming to question number 7, the graph shows the rate of photosynthesis of a plant in full sunlight at two different temperatures and different concentrations of carbon dioxide. Now it says at normal atmospheric carbon dioxide, that's about 0.04. So that would be somewhere here. Now it says at normal atmospheric carbon dioxide, which is 0.04%, what limits the rate of photosynthesis? You see, I have told you this before, and many times before I've said this to you. When the graph is increasing, this part of the graph, whatever is on the x-axis is the limiting factor. In any graph, this point from here to here, this part of the graph, the CO2 concentration is the limiting factor. After that, when it has plateaued, then some other factor is the limiting factor. then carbon dioxide concentration is not the limiting factor, then maybe it's light intensity, maybe it's temperature. As you can see here now, if we took it at this point, you see here now what has happened at a higher temperature, the rate of photosynthesis was higher and then it has leveled out. So between this point and this point, you can see temperature was the limiting factor. This point and this point, temperature was the limiting factor. So please understand this. What do we mean by limiting factors? You're not very clear on this, and that's why it becomes a little difficult when you're answering these questions. Next. Question 8. Which organ produces an acid which kills bacteria in ingested food? We know that in the stomach we have acid. Nowhere else in the body do we have an acid. Then question number 9. A patient has her gallbladder surgically removed. How? Now what does the gallbladder do? The gallbladder stores bile. So how will this affect the functioning of her body? So basically it might reduce the digestion of fats, because what does the gallbladder store? Gallbladder stores bile, and bile emulsify fats. Please understand that the gallbladder does not make, the liver produces bile, and the bile is stored in the gallbladder. So if somebody's gallbladder is removed, actually they do a direct connection, and from the liver the bile directly pours into the duodenum. But now the storage will not take place. So it will reduce the digestion of fats, because bile emulsify fats, break up the large fat molecules into small globules, large globules into smaller globules. Just like if you have ice cubes and when you crush them, you want to make some slush. So you just crush the ice and that becomes smaller pieces. And of course that makes the drink colder very quickly, rather than the cubes that you put in the lemonade or in the ruah afza. And coming to question 10, 4 of the organs of the alimentary canal are listed: colon, duodenum, esophagus, stomach. Which sequence shows the order in which food passes through this organ? Now, you know, when you eat your food, goes into your mouth, teeth, chew the food, then goes down the esophagus, then it goes down to the stomach. So esophagus would have to be first, so L, then M, stomach, and then K, duodenum, which is the first part of the intestine, and then the colon, which is the large intestine. So I'm sure everybody would get this correct, unless you, of course, have no clue what the digestive system is all about, which would be very sad. 7. Which feature of root hairs suggests that they take up ions from the soil by active transport? Their cell membranes are partially permeable, but that doesn't say that they're active transport. They have a large surface area, so helps in absorption, but active transport, no kahani. Then they have a lower water potential than the soil. That doesn't make any sense also. Ions are taken up by active transport. They take up ions more slowly in low oxygen concentrations. Why? Because active transport requires energy. Active transport requires energy, and energy is going to be released by respiration. Please do not say energy is produced. Law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. And this respiration is aerobic. So this aerobic respiration requires oxygen. So please correlate the three things. Active transport requires energy. Energy is released. Please always remember, energy is released. Respiration releases energy. R-E, respiration. So aerobic respiration, and for that you need oxygen. So that is why in low oxygen concentration, that proves the point that, you know, because there's less oxygen, less active transport, less oxygen, less energy, less respiration, less active transport. Question 12. The photomicrograph shows part of a section through a root. The contents of Y are tested with Benedict's solution and with iodine solution. Which results are expected? Now, of course, Benedict's is for reducing sugars and iodine is for starch. And if this is a xylem vessel, because it's the center of the root, so it's going to have neither of them. It's neither a reducing sugar nor would there be any starch present in it. So that is why the answer is D. Then coming to question number 13, which blood vessels carry blood to the liver? You know, this is the liver. And you know, this is the aorta coming here. And then you know there's a hepatic artery going to it. And this is the aorta. So this would be the hepatic artery. Now you say hepatic artery plus, then of course, please remember, it's also connected to the intestines. These are the intestines, the small intestines. And then there is a vessel which connects the liver with the small intestine, and that is called the hepatic portal vein. So hepatic artery is this one, and hepatic portal vein. So the answer was this hepatic vein. It says blood vessels carry blood to the liver. The veins carry blood away from the liver. That goes into, there is of course a vein as well. I'm not saying there isn't a vein. There is a vein of course also which goes into the inferior vena cava. Of course I'm drawing this diagrammatically. It won't be this side, it will be the same side. So this would be the, if I say this is going in this direction, this is going in this direction, this is the vena cava and this is the hepatic vein. So this is how we remember this and this is how we revise this. Next. Question 14. Which blood vessels contain valves? We all know that it's only the veins which contain valves. V for vein, V for valves. So this was the only correct answer and that was B. Then question 15. Which chamber of the heart will be the first to receive nicotine absorbed into the blood in the lungs of a cigarette smoker? Naturally, if it's absorbed in the lungs, it's going to go into the pulmonary vein and the pulmonary vein will reach the left atrium. So the answer was left atrium because it says nicotine. Nicotine is absorbed into the lungs. The lungs, there was only one blood vessel which comes out of the lungs and goes to the heart, and that is the pulmonary vein. And where does it go to? It goes to the left atrium. Then question 16. Which word equation represents aerobic respiration? Now, this is something you need to learn. This is not something which, should be an ambiguity. Glucose plus oxygen gives you carbon dioxide plus water. So it has to be glucose plus oxygen gives you, you have to remember this. It is that when glucose is respired in the presence of oxygen gives you carbon dioxide, water, and plus energy is released. And more energy is released when there is aerobic respiration. In anaerobic, there's less respiration. But of course, this is not the equation for anaerobic. Then what lines the walls of the alveoli? A carpet of cilia? No, sorry, there's no cilia in alveoli. A network of veins? No. A thin sheet of muscle? No. So it has to be a film of moisture. So this is what you have to understand is that what lines the walls of the alveoli. Then question 18. The graph shows changes in the volume of a person's lung over a period of 2 minutes. And this is volume of air in the lungs. You see now it goes to 2 to 2.5 and then goes back to 2. So this is, just at rest. Person is inhaling and exhaling. 2.5. This is also called tidal volume or the air taken in and out at rest. We don't, of course, do that anymore. It's not in the syllabus, tidal volume. And then we suddenly see the person is taking in deeper breaths. More air is going into the lungs and out, in and out, in and out. And you see this. So what has happened at Y? And this is 2 minutes only. So what could cause a change in the pattern of the graph between X and Y? So here it is running to walking, walking to running, decreased frequency of contraction of the internal intercostal muscles, decreased strength of the contraction of the intercostal muscles. So you knew that these two were wrong. It wasn't anything to do with the strength of the intercostal muscles. So you figured that out is that it could either be A or B. And so when when we're taking in more breaths and we deeper inhalation and exhalation, it means the person is doing some sort of an exercise. That is what changes the rate and depth of breathing. So that was the answer to 18. Next question 19. The diagram shows a kidney and blood vessels associated with it. Now X is going inside, so this has to be the renal artery, right? And as this is coming out, so this has to be the renal vein. Now which statements are correct? Vessel X, which is the renal artery, contains more urea than vessel Y. Vessel Y contains urine. Oh, no, 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 no. Urine is here in the ureter. Ureter contains urine, not an artery or a vein. So vessel X contains more oxygen than vessel Y. Yes, it's true. Arteries will contain more oxygen than vessel Y. So arteries going in, the cells of the kidney are taking in oxygen, respiring, releasing energy. So naturally Y is a vein, so it will have less oxygen. So that is why B was correct. This was the one which was wrong because vessel Y, which is the renal vein, does not contain urine, for God's sake. Last question, question 20. Which of these statements describes control by negative feedback? An injury to body tissue activates platelets and these activated release chemicals which activate more. So negative feedback is what? Negative feedback is something we need to understand. There's a normal level. Say there's a normal level of blood glucose. Now you eat something sweet, you goes up. and then it goes down, and then it returns to normal. And then you do some exercise in the blood glucose. So what is negative feedback? There is a normal level, which is this one, and then there's a change in the normal, and then back to normal. And there's a change, I mean, it could be an increase or a decrease, and back to normal. So there is a normal and then there's a negative feedback. Negative feedback means there is a set point, and then there is a change, and then back to normal. During the menstrual cycle, luteinizing hormone releases estrogen and then stimulates the release of that. So actually this is a positive feedback. If you study this in A levels, you'll know that estrogen results in the release of more FSH actually, and that is a positive feedback. A higher concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases temperature, which increases photosynthesis, producing more carbon dioxide. Well, that's something else. That is more CO2 in the atmosphere, global warming or something like that, increasing photosynthesis, nothing to do with negative feedback. Now it says, why is D correct? When blood pressure is high, nerve impulses from the brain cause the blood vessels to dilate. So muscles in the wall of the arteries relax and blood pressure is reduced. You remember arteries have muscles in their wall. This is the lumen. And what do they have is they have muscles in the wall of the arteries. And these muscles can either contract or relax. So if they relax, the lumen becomes larger. That is called dilate. And this will of course reduce the blood pressure because you see, as they become wider lumen, so less pressure exerted on them per unit area. Now that completes till question 20. We will continue this in the second video from 21 to 40. And thank you very much. In this video, we've handled question 1 to question 20, the first 20 questions of this paper.